What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in to the Why So Sidious podcast. We have two special guests, Jose and Zane. I came across these guys on TikTok. They're creating some dope content over there, so check them out. We'll be tagging them in some upcoming posts from this video. We'll get to know them a little more in a little bit, but before that, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, where you can find some videos on YouTube, especially from our podcast. And once we get more of a following, we'll start doing some live shows, interactive shows. We also have a support link in our episode descriptions. You can click on that and give us all of your money so we can make more and better content in the future. If you're excited about Deadpool and Wolverine, we've covered X-Force by Rick Remender, Old Man Logan, Grant Morrison's New X-Men, E for Extinction, all of which could influence the movie quite a bit. There's also a novice nerd out on the villain of Deadpool and Wolverine. Her name is Cassandra Nova, so you can learn where she came from, what is her significance, why did she kill 16 million mutants? All right, Jose, Zane, where can we find you guys on social media? And thank you for joining us. Really happy to have you on.
Thank you for having us.
Of course, yeah. Thank you for having me on. This is great.
You want to say your handles first?
What's the tag on TikTok? Where can they find you, Jose?
Mine is Fluffy Guy Comics on Instagram and TikTok. Those are the only two social medias that I really am active on with the comic stuff. So you guys can find me there.
Same with Jose, Instagram and TikTok for me. My @ is Zenith181. The E in Zenith is a 3, so Z3Nith181.
Oh, yeah. All right, and our topic today is the crossover JLA Avengers, big Marvel and DC crossover. Dropped in 2023. I think it's around the time when Grant Morrison started writing the Justice League. So it seems like that is the Justice League we have here, is that Grant Morrison team. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, it sounds right.
For sure.
Yeah. Batman is like exactly how Morrison was writing him at the time, so.
Right. And then you got Kyle Rayner, and that's a big giveaway. And then, so Zane, how did you get your hands on this book? Because it's hard to find.
It is. So I was at like a huge, it wasn't really a convention, it was more like a sale. And like I've always wanted, because I've had issue 1 since it came out, so I was like a kid reading this over and over.
Dude.
Just issue 1, I didn't have the other 3, so I've been wanting to read it forever. And then at the con, or whatever, the sale, I saw this, and I was like, fuck, I can't like spend the money on that because I already bought hella shit at the sale. So, you know, eventually I just swallowed some pride and ordered it online. I ordered this online. It was like $100, I think, or like $150.
Yeah.
And then Stu sent me a link, a Mercari link for the whole set of singles. So I purchased that as well because I would prefer singles. And I tried to cancel this and it didn't cancel. So I got the trade and the singles, but I don't want to sell this because it looks too good, so
it's pretty cool.
I just got both of them.
Well, in that specific copy, there was only 7,000 printed at all. That copy.
Oh,
right
really?
there.
The trade? Dang.
It was a part of a George Perez reprint after he passed away.
George Perez, yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, I didn't know that.
So it's a cool copy to have. Jose, I've heard the story. Tell us how you got.
Yeah. So I live in a small town, so I don't have an LCS here. So anytime me and my girlfriend go anywhere to the bigger cities around us, I try to hit an LCS or two, because usually the LCSs that I find usually have discount trade paperbacks. So just to get out of the way, I got this for $15. This is $14.99, and here's the proof, because I got a few messages saying that I put this sticker on here, but I have the receipt. It says right there,
yeah.
JLA $14.99. So in total, it was like $16. But we were in a shopping mall, and I had went to the ATM to get some cash, and I went and I passed by a store called Entertain Mart. You can see right there. And I really didn't know they had comics. I just had seen they had a whole bunch of figures. So I just walked in, checked out the figures. Of course, like any other third-party store, they're $40 figures. So I was just kind of checking everything out. And I saw they had a whole bunch of back issues, and I was wondering, I was like, well, if they have comics, they might have trades. So right next to the back issues, there was like a shelf. It was just a small shelf of just used trade paperbacks. And on the right hand side, I saw the spine that said JLA Avengers, and I was like, no way, that's actually it. So I pulled it out, and sure enough, I saw the cover. I flipped through it. There's nothing wrong with it. Maybe just corners kind of bumped, but I saw the price, and I immediately looked at my girlfriend. I was like, this is like $150 book, and they're selling it for $15. So obviously, no brainer. I bought it, and it's in great condition. Like I said, I flipped through it before I bought it, and yeah, so crazy find. I was not expecting to find this at all, especially at just like a third party store like that. Like it's crazy for $14.99, and I was just talking to Zane, like I think it was like a few weeks back or maybe a month before this, that when he got his, I told him that I wanted to get the Absolute edition of it because it looks sick, but that goes for like $450. So to find this, I was like, yeah, that's good enough for $15 too. Crazy. So yeah, it's crazy find.
That's sick.
Yeah. Crazy luck. Imagine you didn't even go in the store.
I know, right? I know, and it was all because of the figures. Because I'm huge figures. Like this whole shelf is just my figures and stuff, and yeah. So it's crazy. It is super crazy find in my opinion.
That's awesome. That's like finding a damn legendary Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like out of nowhere. My story with it is I was in Florida, and I was tracking the release of this thing. Like, I knew it was coming out like a month ahead of time, and I had been calling multiple comic stores, probably a dozen, maybe 20 stores even, and they're all like, we're not going to get any copies. Or some of them said, we're going to get a copy and sell it for $100. I wish I could. I think it was a TBS Comics in Pensacola, Florida, and I would shop there most for my trades, and they said they were going to get 3 copies. And I went in and talked to them about it, wrote down my name. They had me write down my name and phone number for these 3 copies because they said only 2 people have come in and like asked us for the copy. We'll make sure you get a copy. So I was just driving around one day and I got a call from them, and they said, hey, we got the copy. That's right, because they said they were trying to get 3 copies and they weren't sure if they could lock it down. Only 7,000 copies nationwide, so they weren't sure of it. But yeah, I got that phone call one day and they said, yeah, we got a copy, we got your name on it, so it's yours, dude, come buy it. So I just paid $25 for it the day it came out, and I was pretty freaking stoked. And thanks, they were so freaking awesome to do that.
That's sick.
Yeah, and it's the only DC Marvel crossover thing I've read. Have you guys read any other crossovers between them?
I just picked up the Uncanny X-Men and Teen Titans crossover. I haven't read it yet, though. But I heard it's like one of the better crossovers.
I pre-ordered the not the amalgamation or the amalgam universe one, but the
omnibus DC, coming out.
Yeah, the DC versus Marvel omnibus. I pre-ordered that. So, but other than that, yeah, this is the only thing that I've read so far of a crossover between the two.
Yeah, that omnibus is coming out in like October or something like that, and I
think next month actually.
Oh, it is next month.
Yeah, I think it's August. I believe so.
Does that include the Titans and X-Men crossover?
I don't think so. I think
it's just the verses.
Yeah, I think it's just like the actual just DC versus Marvel comics.
Got you.
Stuff, because then they made the amalgam universe omnibus separate and stuff. So I haven't read like exactly what comes in the DC versus Marvel omnibus, but I just got it just because it sounded sick. So
I think it's Superman versus Spider-Man. I think that's one of them, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Batman versus
because they have two. I think they have 2 Superman versus Spider-Man, and then there's I'm trying to think. I know there's like some other like Batman and Daredevil stuff maybe in there, and then there's like Spider-Man and Batman too, which I've just got the single issue for like $5 too and whatnot.
Dang.
But
that's sick.
But yeah, I'll have to read what's in there. But
I just learned myself about that Uncanny X-Men Titans crossover, and the podcast I was listening to said it's like the best They said it was the best before they read this JLA Avengers one, so
Yeah,
sounds like a
that's
dope
what I've
one.
heard. I'm excited to read it. I have it up here actually.
How many issues is it?
It's just one. It's a one shot.
Oh, okay, that's one of my
Right
issues.
here.
I buy trades almost.
That cover's sick.
It's a
That is
wraparound
sick.
too. On the back side, it's dark side.
That's cool. That's sick.
And it's not a versus thing, is it?
No, they team up. I'm pretty sure.
Maybe they trade a couple blows before they team up, as always, right?
Yeah. Speaking of crossovers, Jose found something out from the Superman, I think number 16, the most recent Superman issue.
This is me and Zane were talking about this the other day. So I don't know if you're reading the Superman stuff right now, Jeremy, but in Superman 15 this past week, I think, when Brainiac is shutting down or whatever, he starts like basically recollecting like all the universes he said and like he's seen and stuff, and like he also starts talking about like stuff that's to come, and one of the like the events or like something that he says was called the Crisis Gauntlet. And with the DC versus Marvel omnibus coming out, me and Zane were talking, it's like, what if this is another Marvel DC crossover that's coming called the Crisis Gauntlet? Because, you know, the Crisis events on DC side and then the Infinity Gauntlet on a Marvel side. And I don't think we've ever heard of the Crisis Gauntlet in DC Comics before. So I was trying to, me and Zane were kind of cooking up a theory saying that I wonder if that's a tease to a future Marvel DC crossover here in the future, because
It better be.
and especially with SDC, with San Diego Comic-Con coming up, maybe hopefully there's a crossover coming up. But I think that's like it might just be a coincidence, but hopefully not. And it's
because Brainiac also mentions the Source Wall in that sentence, so he's talking about Marvel stuff.
Dr. Doom or whatever, he fuses with the Source Wall on this too. So I don't know. I think that was pretty cool. And then I saw an article. Crap, I forgot what else they said. There was something else that it's like it's all like at the same time, and it's really weird. Like I'm hoping that it's another Marvel DC crossover. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, and if Doctor Doom was sucked into the Source Wall, that'd be sick if it played off of this story.
Yeah,
because he would be the character to figure out what the hell that Source Wall is.
And then at the end of this, the last panel is Eternity and or not Eternity. Is it Eternity? Yeah. No. The last like panel where it says perhaps we should do this again someday, and then they say yes, perhaps. So that's why another thing. It's like they already mentioned of doing something else, and we haven't had another Marvel DC crossover since this one, so I think it'd be pretty cool.
You know where else they teased a DC Marvel crossover was Doomsday Clock. It sounded like it anyway. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, Superman versus Hulk, the Green Goliath, or something like that.
Yeah, talking about Superman battling through the cosmos with a
and then I think they also mentioned Thor, like Superman battling Thor. Which
I do remember that.
This, because they fight in this, but still, well, this isn't actually in continuity either. So that never mind that. Yeah, so that
it isn't, or it is.
No, this is out of continuity, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
I figured it was.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer. All right, cool. All right, before we get into it, Jose.
Yes, sir.
Let's hear a couple stories. So Jose is he used to work at a juvenile hall, and he's got a couple stories that I haven't heard yet. I'm very interested too. So entertain us for a second.
I'm a corrections officer now at a sheriff's department, but I used to work at a juvenile detention center, which I would say was probably it was the easiest job, but mentally it was pretty hard, because every day you come in and some days the kids would be fine, but the other days they'd be complete assholes. But the craziest story I'll say is probably when I got shanked. That was a pretty big, I would say, a pretty big moment in my life, just because you guys will find out here in the story, but basically, I was supervisor on shift, so I worked 2 to 10, and I was supervisor on this shift. And my job is to oversee the whole facility. Make sure the kids are in line, make sure my staff isn't in any way of danger, make sure they're doing their jobs and stuff like that. And so uh, part of my jobs part of my job was to if a kid received a write-up, which is like if they broke a rule or something, I would have to do a disciplinary hearing. So I'd give them the chance to like tell me like their side of the story or whatever. So um, so one of my staff called me over saying that she gave this kid a write-up and he's pretty upset, whatever. So I was like, okay, I'll talk to him. I knew this kid too. He was pretty chill with me, for the most part, anyways. But so I go over there, and the write-up is basically the kid. They had powdered cake for supper, and he pretended to snort it like if it was cocaine or whatever. So she wrote him up. It was something small, could have been avoided, but it's whatever. So the kid he's angry. He thinks his whole life is over because of this write-up, and he's crying about it. So I go over to him, and I just asked him. I was like, "Hey, dude," I was like, "let's just get this out of the way. It's not even that big of a deal." I was like, "I just need to talk to you." And he's just cussing at me, calling me names, whatever. Just like, "No, I don't want to talk to you. You guys are a bunch of bitches." That's literally what he just kept saying, and just yelling profanities at us. So I was like, "You're seriously being a big baby about this?" I'm like, "It's not going to ruin your whole life." I'm like, "You're going to receive 24 hours of restriction or whatever." And so he continues to throw profanities at me or whatever. So I was like, "Okay, you're just being a big baby." So I guess me calling him a big baby triggers him. He gets up, gets in my face, and so I see that as probable cause to, he's getting in my face. I don't know what he's gonna do. I don't know if he's gonna grab me by the neck, punch me or whatever. So I get in his face. I push him towards the wall, and he puts what I think at the time is his hand on my face. So I felt something like cut me, and at first I thought it was just his nails. But anyways, I had two other staff with me there, but basically I pinned him to the ground, and he's refusing. He's just now because when that stuff happens, we gotta cuff him. So then we're safe, the other kids are safe. So basically, I take him down, and my other staff, they jump in. He's being an ass and not letting us cuff him. But anyways, we finally flip him over, and I noticed that he has, from what we found out after, was a piece of fence that he sharpened because they have like an outside rec area. Um, but it was a piece of fence with a mask. This was like at the time of COVID, so he wrapped the mask around to make a handle. But when we were cuffing him, we noticed that he had that in his hand. And then my other buddy, who was helping me at the time, he had a big old gash right here too. So he didn't even know that he got cut. And then he looked at me and he was like, "Dude, you're bleeding." And he had cut me like right here under the chin. And I honestly believe if he could have gotten like a proper swing, he probably could have split my neck. Because it was pretty sharp. Because we looked at it after the whole incident, and the thing was really sharp. Like he sharpened it pretty good, and to this day, I believe that if he would have grabbed a good swing, he probably would have slit my throat. But luckily, he just kind of scratched me like under the chin, and I had a few scratches right here. But yeah, we didn't even know that it was a shank until after the fact. I thought it was just his nails. I thought he had like long nails or something. And so, it's just the adrenaline that we had. But he put up a good fight. There was three of us on him. He wasn't like a big kid either, but he
Scrappy.
he had that scrubby strength. And so, but that was probably the wildest thing that happened. The other one, we just had kids that just never wanted to go to their room, so they think of it as a game that they refuse to go. They have bedtime or whatever that they have to go to their rooms, and a lot of them refused to. So I think there was like a straight 2 weeks every day in those 2 weeks that we had a couple kids not go to their room and try to fight us. So we would have to wrestle them to the ground and throw them in their room and stuff like that. And we had plenty of, these kids are also, they're troubled kids. So a lot of them were very suicidal. I've seen some couple pretty major suicidal attempts. But yeah, I mean, juveniles, I never really noticed how much like teenagers can go through until working at this job. Like
Right.
mental health is a very serious thing. So, but yeah, that's kind of just the major story that I have. But pretty crazy.
It's a crazy story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, dude. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad you're here with us.
Yeah. Me too.
And you have a kid now? Is that your first
Yep.
kid?
I have a 8-month baby girl. Yeah, she's my first.
Congrats. Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've got 3. I've got a set of twin boys. They just turned, they're about 2.5 right now. And
We actually have a chance to have twins one day too, because her mom actually had twins. So if we ever get pregnant again, there's a chance that we might even have twins too, because it like passes on or whatever.
yeah,
So,
it's really special, dude. Not gonna
yeah.
lie, it's
Oh yeah, being a dad is probably the best thing that's happened to me in my life. To be honest,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Right. I compared it to I tried to be a SEAL, right, and I failed. And I compare parenting to that. Like you try to prepare, you learn all about it, you read books, and then once it happens, it just hits you in the face, no matter what. And it's just like those programs over there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's
We'll
not
get it.
something you can learn in a book.
absolutely, not even close. You just got to do it, and it totally changes you. It makes you a better person. It makes you not give a shit about a lot of the petty things in life. And
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, you have to grow up when you have a kid,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. Again, thanks for sharing. Let's get into the story. So the prologue, it sees what looks like Black Death before we find out that it's Krona. It looked like Black Death. If you guys have read the Donny Cates Thor,
No, I haven't.
I have not. I've seen
Definitely.
it. I've seen panels of it. Yeah, but
you should. It's when he becomes the Herald of Galactus, and it is one of the best. Anyway, the Black Death was in that one. But this force is destroying universes, one of which was currently being invaded by the crime syndicate. So pretty cool
Yeah.
to see them.
yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah.
I became a fan of them in the New 52. The Forever Evil stuff was really good.
I'm actually about to start that. I'm about to start New 52 Justice League.
For the first time?
Yeah, for the first time, yeah.
Nice.
For some reason, I couldn't find Volume 5 anywhere. Volume 5, like, it's not a major book or anything. I think it's like
It's
the
Forever
origins,
Forever Heroes, right?
Heroes, yeah, it's like the origins of the crime syndicate, I think.
Yeah.
But for
Did
some
you
reason,
find
I
a
couldn't
copy?
find it. Yeah, I got one now. Yeah.
I was going to say, I got a copy. I'd sell it to you because it's not my favorite volume. It is,
Yeah.
you have to read it to understand some stuff.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
JLA 52 is so good. I think Volume 1 is like one of my favorites ever. Just their little retelling of the origin is awesome. Seeing like Green Lantern and Batman fight for the first time. Flash, Superman fight. There's so much fun stuff there. And then of course Darkseid shows up. And then the end of the 52 run, it really picks up again. Anyway, so this force, now after he takes out the universe that's being invaded by the crime syndicate, he appears in the main Marvel universe, and he puffs his chest to the Grandmaster. I think he might have beat him up a little bit, or at least shoved him down, but it just shows how powerful he is. We know how powerful the Grandmaster is. He reveals himself to be Krona, and we don't know his intentions just yet. Then we flip over to the JLA, and they're fighting Terminus in their universe, but Terminus is a Marvel villain. I thought they did a great job showing how the team works, right? You just got Batman strategizing the victory, tricking Terminus into thinking they're trying to steal this staff, but instead this Green Lantern, attaches something to the staff, throws a couple 90-degree elbows on it, throws the blast back into the face of Terminus for the kill. That was dope, especially just Batman strategizing that whole thing. I thought that was...
I
Very
love
creative.
That the whole spread page where you see everybody fighting. You see a freaking Superman get punched, and then there's Batman
Just chilling.
just chilling on the rooftop. I thought that was funny.
For sure. And then the Avengers also in their universe fighting Starro, of course a DC villain. And again, I thought they did a great job with just encapsulating in a really short, sweet version of how they get shit done. Because the Vision here is actually the tactician, and he has Wanda allow Starro to attach to her. And for the audience, Starro's kind of thing is what he does is he has got got a ton of little spawn of himself, and they attach to people, and they become, robots of Starro. They become his little minions, and he controls their bodies to act in Starro's will, Didn't explain that great, but we'll go with it. But when she does that, she actually invades the mind of Starro, freaks him out. He leaves. He flees.
Yeah, he just runs away.
Yeah, he's not having any of that Wanda shit. And then also Wanda found out that Starro isn't from this universe, so now we got the question of kind of what's going on. So Zane, how did you feel about this? I mean, really quick introductions to both characters fighting a different universe. What did it do for you?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I had this first issue when I was a kid, so I would just read this over and over again, and seeing the Avengers take on Starro just like did something to a young me. I just loved seeing like all the little Starros on like Thor's face and Quicksilver's face. It was just so cool because he's not from there. I've never seen anything like this. I've never even like the thought of like a crossover never occurred to me as a kid, so I just thought it was badass. And yeah, I mean, the way that the team handled both situations, it was a great setup to both teams for sure.
Right? I feel like it almost was better than some of the ways they beat some villains in some of these big stories. Like, the way they beat these villains was super
together.
Cool.
Yeah. It's like they actually know what they're doing for once.
Right? That could be a problem with comics where you fight villains over and over. Like, how are we going to make defeating this villain feel any different from something that happened before? Sometimes it's pretty outlandish. That just comes naturally with having a villain from a different universe. Like, it's so fresh. For sure. And then we see Lobo. Attacking the Imperial Guard. I thought that was awesome just because, like, he's a wrecking ball, and the Imperial Guard is like this super structured, character. It's a perfect contrast there. Not a lot of screen time. That's actually like one of my gripes here is that we see a shot or two of a fight and nothing else. I needed some of these fights to be expanded. I wanted to see, whoever it was, Captain Marvel and Superman, whoever it was, I wanted to see more of those fights. Like, what else can happen? Superman and Thor got the most attention as far as fighting each other, and that was always epic. But I wanted to see more fights, because really, I didn't give a shit about the villains in this one. I just wanted to see the Justice League and Avenger characters. It could have been all them fighting, or even just talking, I don't know. So I wanted more page time for their fights, and I didn't care much for the villains, but...
I wish it was like...
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I wish it was like 8 issues, or just like even 6, like... More screen time for everybody would be ideal, but it was probably hard for them to punch this out for both companies. For sure. Wally West, he's our Flash in the Justice League right now. He uses a chunk of Terminus to assess the vibrational frequency, and he runs to match that frequency, ends up in the 616, and super exciting moment, because he finds mutants running from a mob, and he's like, what the hell, what are you guys doing? If he's committed a crime, call the police. Otherwise, why are you dealing it with like this? You're acting like a bunch of savages. But the mutant conflict, I feel like, is a perfect representation of the difference of Justice League and Marvel, because it just goes straight to how humanity fears and hates heroes in general, especially mutants, of course. Whereas the Justice League is much more a fantasy land. It doesn't exactly... Marvel kind of represents the real world a little more, with all the freaking hate and divide between people, just how ridiculous that is. But, in the Justice League, the heroes are icons, and they're gods. Everyone loves them, and we see that a lot in this. So, Wally goes back to the Justice League to find the Watcher, another exciting moment. Big Marvel character. He's looking over them, and the Grandmaster shows up, and they're told about these 6 different items from each universe, Marvel and DC, that need to be found to prevent destruction of both of their universes, like the Orb of Ra, Infinity Gauntlet, Cosmic Cube, Green Lantern Battery, a bunch of other things, and the Grandmaster gives them the locations of these artifacts. The Justice League, they go to the 616, they find Dr. Doom, they find the destruction of Genosha, which was awesome. I've been reading a lot of that stuff coming up on Deadpool and Wolverine here.
So it was cool to see them witnessing like one of the most horrific incidences in comic book history. They see the Hulk rampaging in Michigan. We don't see the Hulk anymore in this, which kind of sucks because, Hulk versus Superman is one of the big things I've always wanted to see. By the way, who wins that fight, Zane? Hulk, Superman?
I think Superman's got it. That's such a hard fight. It's talked about all the time, but I got Superman for sure.
Jose?
I don't know. I'm more of a Marvel guy, so I'm gonna go Hulk. I love Superman, like especially. I've been on a Superman kick lately, but
Same.
I don't know. I love Marvel, so I gotta say Hulk.
I want the Hulk to win, but I have to give it to Superman just because he has more abilities. The flying, ice breath. I don't think the lasers are doing anything against Hulk, but the fact that Hulk can't fly, he could jump pretty damn high.
He can jump.
But another part of me thinks that the Hulk would never die, but there's probably a way the Hulk would kill Superman if he got the chance to. I just think it'd be really hard for him to get the chance to. But the killing blow, I think, might be impossible for Superman, but possible for the Hulk.
That makes sense.
That makes sense, yeah.
So, and the first item the Justice League finds is the ultimate nullifier. Right? This is the thing that they used to beat Galactus. When the coming of Galactus happened, like the big first Fantastic Four story in Galactus. This is what they used to beat him from what I remember. Or he flees because he doesn't want them to use it against him. And boom, the Avengers show up. It's their first meeting. They almost steal the nullifier before Wonder Woman intercepts it right before the Avengers blast them back into their universe. Super quick little conflict there. Pretty cool because it switches hands multiple times as it should. And then the Justice League end up with it. But Adam didn't get blasted back to his universe. He stuck around, but no one knows. And Metron, there's a lot of characters in this. Metron shows up and tells the Avengers, and Metron's from DC, telling them about the artifacts they need. And Metron says they need to find these items before the Justice League. And Adam saw that whole conversation, so he knows what's going on. All right, what do you guys think at this point in the story? Jose, I'll throw it to you. Let's hear your guys' voice a little more. I'm talking a lot.
So I think the setup is really good. I think, especially with like the two sides of like the Grand Master telling the Justice League like what they have to do, and then you see Metron, who's from DC, tell the Avengers what's happening, but they tell two completely different stories, and then you got the Atom who finds out what's actually going on. But I think so far the setup is really good. For me, I agree with Zane with the whole. I wish it was more of a 6 to 8 issue kind of mini, just because I feel like the issues kind of also dragged out a little bit. The pacing, they and we'll find this out more at the end of the book. I feel like the setup was really good, but then the ending is just happens, like it's over. And I think Kurt Busiek just kind of wrote himself into a hole because like he had this whole setup, and then the story just finishes. But this first two issues, it sets up a lot of the stuff, and I like we were talking about earlier. I like I just lost my train of thought. The way that they adapt to new villains, and then they trying to find out what's going on, and then also a big part of this thing that I liked as well was how much Superman really hates the Marvel Universe at first.
It's one of my favorite parts.
Like how are these superheroes allowing all this stuff to happen? And so I think that was really cool to see as well. As Superman, he's a big symbol of hope in the DC universe, and just in superheroes in general. But to see him he's like, these are superheroes and they're not doing anything about what's going on in the world, And so I thought that was really cool. But other than that, I mean, the setup is really good. I feel like I just wish it was like 8 issues or 6, so it wouldn't feel like the issue was dragging. But other than that, I think I like the setup so far.
For sure.
I mean, everything Jose said. I just wanted to point out really quick that when the Justice League first get to 616 and they see like Doom and Hulk, and like everybody's like, oh, should we intervene? Should we stop this? And
Yeah.
Batman's like,
Oh, yeah.
no. And then Batman sees Punisher killing fools, and Batman's like, all right, we can intervene here.
Yeah.
And he just takes him out. I thought that was so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good setup for sure, and it definitely drags. I think it drags the most for me in issue 3 when they keep time switching, going back and forth. But yeah, cool setup.
Such a Batman thing to do.
Yeah.
Which kind of pisses you off because I'm not a fan of like some of Batman's ideology. And if he's gonna stop the Punisher, like the Punisher's the dude who kills the right people. Like if you're gonna take out the Punisher, you're gonna let some human traffickers and freaking meth dealers, you're gonna let them run free. The Punisher needs to exist.
Pretty sure they were like drug dealers that he was killing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Something
for
like
sure.
that.
Yeah.
So,
And if it's just a little ganja, then maybe Batman could stop him, and that's fine.
yeah.
But I totally agree with you. One of the best parts about that is Superman's like thoughts about the Marvel Universe. It just shows, it's just seeing it through the Superman lens of what the Marvel Universe is compared to what they're doing. But dude, Marvel's written in such a cool way that it's like the Avengers try, but it's hard. They're stuck in between a rock and a hard place always.
Yeah.
What would be a cool crossover is to see the Justice League stuck in the 616 without the Avengers. What are they going to do to solve the problem? What would they do differently?
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
That would be sweet.
You know, I liked how the Mother Box communicated with Iron Man, as it should. He's the cyborg equivalent, and its technology there. Yeah, you guys covered that part. Boom. But then we're going to go ahead and start with the first big meeting with the Justice League and the Avengers. So they exchange words, and then Thor attacks. I love the scene with him conjuring thunder, and the Wonder Woman just looks up, you know, and then boom. Epic splash page. Is it a splash page if it's only one page, or is a splash page when you got 2 pages of one picture?
I think a splash is just one page.
Okay.
And then it's like a double splash.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was sick, because Thor just launches his hammer at Superman and nails him, too.
Right
That's
in the
one
face.
Thunder.
That's
little
one thing I
blood.
love about this book are the splash pages. They're freaking
Just-
amazing.
Yeah. George
They're
Perez.
epic.
Yeah.
George Perez on art. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
And colors. So he colored it and did the pencils. So he's a savage. But we finally find out a little more about the villain motivations. The Grandmaster set this up. He tells Metron about his game to delay Krona. So Grandmaster's kind of working on his own thing now. Krona's got his thing going on, and we're going to learn about that later. And Adam is still there. Adam's the wild card here, dude. He's always sneaking up on people, having the right conversations, and
Yeah.
that's a really fun aspect. It turns out Krona wants to find like the source of the Big Bang, from what I understood. He's just really curious about how universes die and come back into existence. But why is it that he goes and tries to find this stuff out, and from what I understood, when he gets close to the force that causes Big Bangs, like he causes the early destruction of a universe? Is that kind of what's going on, or did you understand that? Zane, I'll throw it to you.
What was the question again? Sorry, I keep cutting out.
Like apparently Krona's obsessed with finding out something about the Big Bang, right? And when he gets close to finding him, he causes the destruction of the universes.
Yeah, it's, from what I took away from it is he was born during the Big Bang, right? So he's trying to like figure out what was before the Big Bang, and every time he gets close to it, the Big Bang happens, and he can't get close to it. So he's just trying to figure out what came before him, what came before the Big Bang.
For sure.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah. Are we on the right track, Jose?
Yeah, I think I'm keeping track of like what we're talking about, like flipping through the book. I think the way I understood it is that he just wants to, you know, the beginning he's asking, what was it? Sorry, I'm trying to see his exact words from the beginning.
Like, good. We can edit. We're gonna edit this, all that. So this kind of stuff doesn't matter.
He says, "What is the secret? What is the truth? Like, you know, tell me or whatever." I think he just wants to find the source, like you said, of the Big Bang Boom. Let me see. I was just thinking about this earlier too. Crap! Damn it! I forgot.
You're good, bro.
Basically, he just wants to find out like the creation of all life, and then basically create a new universe. I think, and then That's how I understood it. I guess he just wants to create a new universe in his image. I think is what it is.
For sure.
But I might be wrong.
Are you guys familiar with Krona from the New 52 Green Lantern stuff?
Haven't read it yet.
Yeah, I haven't read it
This
yet.
was my first time with Corona, but I from what I've learned from looking him up, he was in like the '90s GL run, and he played a pretty big part in that, right?
Okay. I haven't read 90s Green Lantern except for like Kyle Rayner's introduction and like the birth of Parallax, or whatever you want to call that, the Hal Jordan Parallax. I think Krona was in the New 52, and don't quote me on this, but I want to say he was involved with creating the first ring.
Yeah, no. When I looked him up,
Yeah.
I saw that he was the reason the Guardians created the Manhunters, and he plays a pretty big role in the Green Lantern lore.
Yeah.
I could be wrong about the
No,
Manhunter
I did.
thing, but
I did. I watched like a little bit of a recap of the whole thing, just because I told you guys earlier. Since with work and stuff, I had to kind of speed through this. So before we started, I watched like a 20-minute video on it. I think they said that he was actually the reason why one of the reasons why the Green Lantern Corps was created.
Yeah.
So
And to sidetrack, as a personal curiosity, was that massacre of Sector 616 by the Manhunters, did that take place in that 90s Green Lantern run?
I haven't read it yet. I'm trying to collect all the singles before I start it.
Because I heard a lot about that in the Jeff Johns Green Lantern run, one of my favorites of all time. But they always talk about the Manhunters, massacring a big sector, and I never read it. I really want to read that, see what led up to that and how that all went down. All right. So after we learn a little bit about Krona and Grandmaster, whatever they're doing. Well, first of all, Grandmaster says he does not want his universe destroyed, so he's gonna, play the game with him, and he actually offers the game that whoever's, if his team wins, then you're gonna leave my universe alone, and if your team wins, then you can go find the Big Bang, whatever. But he offers Galactus because we know Galactus is the one dude in this universe who survived the Big Bang. He was in the previous universe, so that made it really exciting, the fact that he's going to want to go find Galactus now. That's dope. But then next, we go back to the Justice League and Avengers, and one of my favorite couple pages is Batman vs. Cap. So sick. So sick. They trade a few blows. This was like the most exciting moment for me, even though it doesn't last long. But Batman says it's obvious you can beat me, but it will take you a very long time. And they end up realizing they're just pawns anyway in a larger scheme, so they agree to go find the real answers instead of fighting, which is very, very Batman-esque. Captain America, not so much, but it's very Batman-esque. And it makes sense that Captain America would go along with it. I don't think Captain America is the character that would have thought of it first, but I think he's the one that if Batman said something like that, he would definitely be like, oh, and then he'll fall in line. Were you guys stoked to see Batman and Cap fight? And who wins this fight, Jose?
I think it's a draw apparent to this. Kurt Busiek wrote it to where I think it's a draw for now. Like you said, like Cap says, he's like, yeah, you'll beat me, but it's gonna, it's like the I can do this all day type thing. And so I think it's a draw at the end of the day, but I don't know. I want to say Cap, but I don't know. Batman, from what I've read, he's probably one of the better fighters in the DC universe. But Captain America too, he's
stronger.
He's Captain America, yeah, and he's a super soldier. So it'll be fun to see. But and like you said, Jeremy, I think this was a bad, especially the narration. Like it's saying their eyes lock, and then they each draw breath, and then their blows connect and stuff like that. I think that is badass. It's just the narration too. I think that was a pretty badass moment. But yeah, I enjoy this moment a lot.
For sure. Saying if they had to trade blows, who wins this fight? If they had to win, if it was life or death, but they don't have to kill each other because Batman.
Yeah, man. I want to say Batman would, but my heart is telling me Cap could take him out if he really was trying.
he doesn't have a weakness.
Who? Batman?
Cap doesn't have a weakness, right?
Yeah. And he's been in war. He's seen some shit. I mean, Batman's seen some shit too, but I think Cap could take him out pretty quickly if he was trying.
For sure.
No pressure.
Because he's gone toe-to-toe with Spider-Man, and in my opinion, I think Spider-Man's taking out Batman.
Yeah, I know. It's just, I'm going to annoy myself by saying this, but well, first of all, he has the gadgets. I don't know if he could just put Cap to sleep. He's a super soldier. I don't know if he has that strong. He could hit him with fear toxin, Mr. Freeze's ice gun. But at the end of the day, he's not a super soldier, and you're going against Cap. He's got shields. He's going to avoid a lot of that stuff. It's like a really tough fight to call.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's more tough than Thor versus Superman. I think this is like the definitive, like...
Thor gets his ass
versus... Yeah.
I got Superman over Thor. I think it's like... It's
After
the
this.
Hulk... It's the equivalent of Hulk and Superman, in a way. But it's also... I don't know. Because if Cap lands one punch, dude, Batman can't take a super soldier punch. He's a human being.
He's tanked Bane. He's tanked Solomon Grundy.
It's true. Yeah. Batman's too much of a damn wild card.
And
got
really quick,
blood
I'm looking at the pages of this fight, and I just want to point out that the symmetry of like the paneling,
Dude,
is so good.
It's fire.
so good. There's a later one where it's Zatanna and Wanda both meditating.
Yeah, that
And
was really good too.
They're all going... The symmetry is on point there because everything is a mirror of each other. Every Justice League panel is mirrored by an Avengers panel and vice versa. And the layouts are mirror images. It's just like, they put a lot of thought into this.
They did.
One thing I was telling Zane too, I just love Plastic Man in this. He's freaking hilarious. He's just there
funny.
in every panel. Like whenever you don't expect him, he's there, and he's just cracking jokes or just being funny.
Yeah.
I
Even
love
if
it.
he's not saying anything,
Yeah.
he's just making like a funny ass face or like morphing into something funny.
I don't know.
It's great.
Earlier in the book, when the Grand Master appeared to the Justice League, you see how he put his fingers to say Hulk. I don't know why, I just couldn't stop laughing at that. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, at one point he puts a crown on his head and like forms a spear in his hand to look like a king, and he's always doing goofy stuff.
Yeah, he's fucking funny.
His Black Label comes out soon.
Yeah.
A black label on Plastic Man?
Yeah. It's he's like, the synopsis is like he's getting older and like deteriorating, and he's like trying to figure out his purpose in life. It sounds really cool.
The cover, I think, is him like he can see like his skin like drooping and stuff.
Yeah.
One of the covers is like that. It's pretty badass.
Interesting. Batman called Plastic Man like the most dangerous person in the DC universe at one point. I think it was in the Dark Knight Returns sequel.
I believe it.
And since then, I was always so interested, but I haven't read a single story where he's like a standout. I have like no exposure to him.
Deceased? Did you finish Deceased? I remember you said you haven't finished it yet.
I haven't done War of the Undead Gods, and I also haven't read...
I think it's in that one.
What is it? Hope at World's End or something like that.
Hope at World's End's more filler. It's like more filler like stuff. It's still good. I enjoyed all of it, but I would say that's the one with Black Adam.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
is he a zombie or is he normal?
You'll find like the way he turns is really he basically dies. Yeah. The way he turns is kind of lame. But
that sucks.
You kind of see it coming. But yeah, that one's War of the Undead Gods is really good. It kind of slows down in the middle, but the ending is very good.
The trade drops
panel
in like October or September.
Yeah.
I pretty much exclusively buy trades. I only buy single issues if there's something I can't find in trades, like the Brightest Day Return of the Swamp Thing, Search for Swamp Thing, Green Hell, a bunch of Swamp Thing stuff apparently I could only find in single issues. But that's about it. I started reading in college, so it's I have a lot of catching up still to do, and it's hard to do the trades. And plus, it's a little cheaper if you wait. Now I'm like, dude, I'm just gonna wait for all the omnibuses to save the money, but it gets tough. I like picking up a full arc, picking
Marvel
up the
trades,
story
for some reason, get hard to find, especially the older stuff. Marvel, like, stops printing their stuff, like, right away. It's weird.
Yeah. Which makes them very resellable for, like, a good up cost there.
Yeah.
I run a lot of them on eBay if I don't want to keep them in my collection, so I don't have to move so much shit every time I move. And you know, I have enough comics that I want to read. I put the mediocre ones and I just throw them back on eBay. All right, so Wanda, we find out that her power is amplified in this world, but unpredictable. She also gets this big sense of awareness, including where the artifacts are. Because the Justice League were told the location, but the Avengers weren't. But now Wanda knows. And boom, she just transports everybody away from the fight, unfortunately, because as it does drag on in the middle, I feel like they could have replaced a lot of that with, and I don't always ask for this, but just the action. Just do the action. I want to see them fighting each other because we never get to see that, and you could have explored that a lot more and replaced some of the slower story beats that weren't as engaging.
Yeah.
Martian Manhunter calls the reservists to inform them of the mission and they could protect the artifacts, whatever they're close to. Flash goes to Kyle Rayner's apartment for the lantern, but Iron Man stops him. It's really cool because the Mother Box amplifies his power. He said he could even sense the Flash coming. And you realize they kind of buffed the Flash, first of all, only in the Marvel Universe, to be fair. So I guess I didn't mention he doesn't have access to the Speed Force in the 616. Buffed the Flash and boosted Wanda and Iron Man, you know? And I think that's appropriate because do we all agree the Justice League would take out the Avengers?
Flash alone would, so I think it's pretty valid.
Flash alone bugs me because he should, but none of his stories play out like that, dude. When I'm reading a Flash comic, if he's that fast, I feel like there's 20 different things he could have done to succeed. If he's that fast. It's hard to write, though. But yeah, I think the Justice League takes him, so they buffed Marvel. I think that was probably on purpose to even the playing field there. And the Ultimate Nullifier from the hands of the Justice League. Oh yeah, so they have the Nullifier and it disappears out of their hands. We find that the Grand Master is just collecting them as soon as a team secures it. And he's keeping score. So it's 1-1 at this point. The Justice League have the Ultimate Nullifier. Iron Man has the Lantern. Diana, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman go to Asgard. Love the parallels there because Wonder Woman's explaining that traveling there is much like traveling to Olympus. It's hard to explain for mortal minds to understand, but somehow she knows how to get there, so the mythological aspects to Wonder Woman and Thor are put on display pretty well there. All right, gotta do another matchup. Zane, who wins, Thor or Wonder Woman? Thor, for sure. You agree, Jose?
Yeah.
Yeah, Thor takes that one.
Like, Wonder Woman could take a beating, but he's got too much.
You don't have that hammer.
Too much
or
up his
thunder.
sleeves.
She does lay the hands on Hercules, though.
Oh yeah, Hercules ain't Thor. Good God,
Yeah.
I don't. What do you guys think of Hercules showing up in Thor 3, Thor 4, Thor 3,
It was 4.
4?
Yeah.
He's supposed to play a big part in the next one, but I could care less about Hercules, to be honest.
I could care less about Hercules too, to be
Yeah,
honest.
If they really wanted to make like a prominent role, they should have included him in the movie somehow, and then build him up to like he finds out Zeus really isn't dead or whatever, and then built it from there. But he was just a post-credit scene.
If you couldn't make like one of the most legendary Marvel villains with Christian Bale as Gore, I don't really give a shit what you got planned for somebody as Hercules.
I haven't read the entire God Butcher arc, but I've read like bits and pieces of it. And it's one of my comics that I need to get. But yeah, Gore, man, he's badass.
He's so sick.
And that's one thing that I hated about Love and Thunder was that you call him the God Butcher, but you only see him kill one god in the beginning.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
That's the best scene in the whole movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, right.
And it's like if you guys are gonna bring Gore the God Butcher, I want him freaking. I want a fight scene between a couple gods at least.
Absolutely. Show us how powerful he is. Show us him butchering gods. What the hell?
He was just a wasted villain. Just like my feelings on Ultron. I love Ultron. I think he's probably top 3 MCU villain. and he's one-offed. And
Same.
yes, there's talks that he might come back, but still, like, I don't know. And then what's the guy's name that voices him? Spader or something?
James Spader.
James Spader, yeah, fantastic.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
fantastic.
Did you guys watch The Office?
Yeah.
I did not know.
James Spader in The Office was freaking hilarious. Robert California.
Yeah, that's something that I hope the James Gunn DCU does. They don't just one-off their villains each movie. I hope the villains can build up and be prominent throughout the whole...
I think I was talking about this in the group chat too, Zane, is like, I hope it feels like a comic book universe, because like the Marvel, the MCU, it's like, we haven't seen Shang-Chi since Shang-Chi. We're barely finding out what's happening with Sam Wilson in Captain America 4. We haven't heard of Moon Knight. We haven't heard of, obviously Captain Marvel now with the Marvels. But like, it's like there's so many characters that we haven't heard of since they're either movie, show, or whatever, and it just doesn't feel like a universe. I want an occasion cameo of Moon Knight and him just saying what he's up to or what's happening with him. And then, we move on to the actual movie or show. But it's like, as far as like universe-wise, it's like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel
100%.
like a comic book universe.
Is that not what made Marvel so special in Phase 1 through 3? And they just ditched it.
Yeah, like, even like simple like, cameos and post-credit scenes. And it's like, it's like they're here. This is what they're doing. Like with Hulk, with the Incredible Hulk, Tony comes to Ross and tells him forming
exactly. That was one of my favorite end credit scenes, even though that specific one is like one of the only ones that didn't go into anything directly. Kind of. I mean, they're building the Avengers, but then you got nothing from Thunderbolt Ross for so long, or Hulk.
Yeah.
That was so sick. Watching Tony Stark come into a bar after a Hulk movie, that was just like, no way. That was so sick. But are you familiar with the CEO shakeup and why Marvel might end up being better pretty soon here?
No.
Was that like the Bob Iger stuff?
So Bob Iger was the CEO for Phase 1 through 3, and he gave Feige a ton of power, creative control. When Bob Chapek got hired, that was the end of Phase 3, and since Chapek, first of all, his creative what do you want to call it? Like, his creative dude who was in charge of the creative process is a banker, not a fan of the comics. He's a banker. He's doing it like for money, doing whatever they do, which is why they're not paying money for solid directors, or they didn't have any kind of creative thought behind the last phase or two. I don't even know what phase we're in now. But Iger got rehired again. Chapek's gone. Iger's back, so Feige's got his power back. I think the Captain America 4, a lot of that was shot during the Chapek era, so I'm actually not super confident that's going to be a giant banger. But then again, Chapek had a few good films. Spider-Man No Way Home was good. I liked Wakanda Forever. There was a couple good ones. So I'm not saying Cap 4 could be just complete shit. They might have already had a good film brewing, and all those reshoots you might have heard about was when Feige came back in, saw something he didn't like. He also scrapped whatever they did with Daredevil, and they pretty much started new. And that's probably for the absolute best, because that would have fallen under that mediocrity, potentially, scary stuff. But we're going to go back. The quality's going to return. I promise you that, because it's the same. Feige and Iger are back, and so things moving forward are going to be pretty solid, but there might be a couple movies or shows that are going to come out with that same mediocre feel with Chapek because they were already shot. But I think, first of all, Deadpool and Wolverine's going to be amazing. I don't even care. That's going to be good. Yeah. I still think Cap 4 is going to be good. But yeah, I think starting next year, Marvel's coming back with a vengeance.
I just hope they can figure out Blade. It was announced in 2019, and they haven't even started filming.
It's ridiculous.
Jesus Christ.
I'm worried. I'm worried. What's his name's going to freaking quit? The lead.
Yeah, Mahershala Ali. He's perfect.
Dude,
perfect.
I want nobody else. He would be freaking perfect. And Feige confirmed online the other day that being rated R is inherent to the character of Blade, pretty much saying it's very likely going to be rated R.
Just like Deadpool,
All right, we get off track, but that's okay because it's fun stuff. So, a bunch of other artifacts get gathered. It ends up being 3-2 after like Superman and Green Lantern bested Captain Marvel and Wonder Man. Aquaman and Wonder Woman bested She-Hulk, Hercules, Quicksilver, Oh no. And then separately, Quicksilver and Wanda bested Hawkman and Black Canary. And the Titans and the Blue Beetle was there too. So it's 3-2. Then we go to Captain America in the Batcave. And that alone is just sick. Seeing Captain America in the Batcave.
Yeah. And one of my favorite moments is, too, is like when he sees Robin's suit in the case, and he's like, yeah, you lost a partner. It's like, you know, he lost Bucky Barnes, and I believe this was before the Winter Soldier stuff.
Oh yeah,
right?
that was way before.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool.
That's really cool, especially that they address. I mean, Bucky Barnes was a long time coming before he came out and dropped like the best Captain America comic. I feel like the Winter Soldier started like the best era of Captain America. But that was just awesome seeing that. Then you got Ben Grimm showing up from the Fantastic Four, the Thing, and he requests. Sorry, Captain America called him for some kind of time bike so they could travel dimensions. And Reed Richards comes in with a word. He calls him and says, "Yeah, I programmed it with the wavelengths from the residue Iron Man collected when they met Metron." So seeing Batman, how he's got Cap in the cave, he meets the Thing. That was pretty special. Zane, did it tickle your nerd fancy or what?
It did. I wasn't expecting him to show up when the portal was opening. I was like, what the hell's going on here? And then there's Ben just chilling on a bike. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. I haven't read much of the Thing, but he's a big goofball in this.
Yeah,
cracking jokes.
To be honest, I'm really not a big... I love the Fantastic Four, but Ben Grimm's kind of the weak point for me because he's always written as, like, just goofy. But I would prefer him to be a badass. He should be, like, kind of a Hulk.
Yeah.
Which he kind of is. He'll throw the big punch every now and then, but he's too... How do I put it? He's kind of, like, obnoxious, a little juvenile how he's written.
Yeah.
Gave me Korg vibes.
Yeah.
From Ragnarok.
For sure. And at least Korg's super funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you got Vision and Thor. They get bested by Red Tornado and Firestorm. So it's 4-2. Then we cut to Black Panther. People are like after the mask, some kind of mask, and Black Panther just sneaks up and grabs it. And he doesn't fight anybody. That's sad. I really would have liked to see Black Panther fight some people. So it's 4-3. And then it's friggin' a bunch of other things get picked up. It's 5-4 after Hawkeye and Iron Man beat Green Arrow, and the Flash steals what Quicksilver obtained in his fight. Quicksilver got away, and then the Flash comes and steals it from him, showing he's faster, showing he's superior. They even address that in the book. He says, yeah, you're faster than me if you have access to the Speed Force. And then it's 5-5 when Quasar and Photon almost lose to Kyle and Wonder Woman, but Iron Man pops through a boom tube with his little mother box and takes their artifact. So this is when it kind of drags for me because like all you're getting is a bunch of random fights that aren't drawn out, a little too quick. How you guys feeling at this point in the story, Zane?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, 2-3 panels of a fight is not enough. It's cool to see the characters interact, but as a fan, like I would like something a little more substance.
Totally. Jose, how about you?
Me too. I feel like the only really good part, I guess not even good part, you know, you see Darkseid wield the Infinity Gauntlet, but then it's like, well, can't freaking use it, so he throws it, and then, but other than that, yeah, I mean, it just, at this point in the book, I'm just like, it's like, what are we getting to now, you know?
Yeah.
And so, I agree, it just drags on.
For sure.
And what makes it worse is, like, each page having the score be updated, it just makes it seem like it's going by super fast.
Totally.
Fast, yeah.
I feel like that hurts it a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Even as I'm saying it for the podcast, it was like 4-2, 4-3, 5-4, 5-5. It goes too quick. Like, I would much rather just see them freaking fight. I would have done less items. Maybe just the Infinity Stones on Marvel's side, and then, you know, a couple things from DC's side. Yeah, they decided to just go with it, though. I mean, just a freaking, I don't know what to call it. Not an orgy, but just a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
So one more item remains, and that is the Cosmic Cube. This one, I feel like the action did pick up. There was some cooler fights going on, but Thor vs. Superman was the highlight for me. All of their fights were sick. They did a good job with that. At least they paid attention to one duo of fighting and, gave us some really cool stuff there. As far as the 1v1s go, that's definitely the best. Captain America and Batman was close. They just stopped fighting and did smarter things. But the Thing is switching hands a lot. Quicksilver grabs it. The Green Arrow people are shooting their arrows and they're grabbing it. Eventually, the game is over when Cap's shield comes and knocks it out of Quicksilver's hands into Batman's hand. And Krona lost the match because they kind of switched. The Krona's team was the Marvel side, Grandmaster's team was the Justice League side. And he's a poor sport about it. She says, screw the rules, I'm going to get the answers about the Big Bang anyway. And then Galactus is summoned. Krona thinks he's wiping everybody. The Grandmaster uses all the artifacts and screws reality up for everybody. It goes white. And everybody kind of ends up in a different universe. I mean, they end up in a confusing universe that's kind of similar, but not really similar. And this, for me, didn't do much for me. I thought if you just did way more pages of the good quality fighting and interactions with the characters and the banter and talking shit to each other, you could have ended the story here. The game ended and Krona just says, fuck it, or whoever does whatever, he could have just said fuck it and sent everyone back to their universe, and there didn't need to be a big team up to beat the villains in this super crazy climax, because I wasn't that interested in going and looking at them and their semi-confusing realities. What did you guys think of this part of the story, Jose?
I really didn't like it. I didn't care for it. Seeing Doctor Doom being mentioned, I guess, was pretty cool. I didn't like how they had, what's her name, Black Canary and Hawkeye. They had a little thing. I was like,
right
what the
in front
heck?
of Green Arrow.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, Hal Jordan and Barry are back. And it's like
that's super weird.
And that was the big problem with me in this book. It's like all of a sudden things just happen. It's like there's no explanation. Like how did Barry get back? Not Barry, Wally. How did Wally get back to the JLA at the beginning of the book when he didn't have a Speed Force? I don't think was that explained how he got back.
I think they said his vibrational frequency just like snapped back to
DC's.
It's
like how,
but
it's like
yeah,
how,
it's just thrown away.
Yeah, and so just little stuff like that is just what bothers me about this book. It's like there's no explanation. Like I said, like Barry and Hal are all of a sudden back, and then it's how that brings up the point that it's like our worlds aren't perfect, but they're our worlds, so we got to save them because I think they were talking about how like they just wanted to keep it how it was, but then they realized it's like, well, it's like our world, not every world's going to be perfect, and they're our worlds, and so, but yeah, I mean, I agree with Jeremy. Like there's times where I enjoy a wordy book, but and this it's like why? And then this is where I think Kurt Busiek kind of starts writing himself into a hole, and then it just kind of goes down from there. And then again, after this, we get into like the actual final fight between all of the heroes versus Krona, and then it just kind of ends, and then they're like, okay, bye, we'll see you next time, maybe, and then they're done.
Yeah.
So it's like I just, like you said, I just wish it just would have gone to fight Krona, and then everybody goes back to the world, and boom, the story.
You on the same page, Zane?
Yeah, I mean, I'm scrolling through this issue number 3 right now as you guys are talking, and it's literally the whole issue is just them snapping back and forth, and like they get nowhere this whole issue, and
no
it's
substance.
1 out of 4 issues, so like that's a lot of wasted time.
That's not a wasted time.
I will say the parts where they're getting shown both the Avengers and the Justice League, like their worst moments in history, like that is probably my favorite part in all 4 issues.
For sure.
Like seeing Batman get his back broken and Jason dying and Tony with his alcoholism and just everything, like I feel like that summed up the characters pretty well, and I just
Superman's death.
thought it was cool seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah. That was really
Yeah.
cool.
That's the
And
stuff.
I mean, the art on those 2 pages was beautiful too.
Yeah, the art's pretty good throughout. It's really cool when they dive into each other's backstories, though. Could have done that more.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing what they've all gone through.
And I think. Oh, sorry, bro.
No, you're good.
And I just like it also helps them realize it's like why they should save their world. You know, it's like you guys sacrifice so much to just kind of throw it away at the end. You know, like Barry basically seeing himself die in Crisis. And I've never read Crisis, but I did. I know that he dies.
Yeah.
But that's still pretty cool. But yeah.
Speaking of Tony's alcoholism, did you guys read Demon in a Bottle?
Sorry,
many-
I cut out again. What
No, you're good.
did you ask a question?
Have you read Demon in a Bottle?
No.
Me neither. That's supposed to be a good one about his alcoholism, but I've never read it. I've also never read all of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Zane, have you? Is it that good?
I didn't think so while I was reading it, but looking back on it, it's pretty cool. And going into Infinite Crisis, it makes it better. Cause have you read Infinite Crisis?
Yep, I love it.
Yeah, the callbacks and the characters that come back from Crisis on Infinite Earths really enhanced my outlook on it, I think.
For
But
sure.
yeah, as I was reading it, it's a lot of words,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
slow.
a lot of big words that you need to turn your brain on for, and that's not a bad thing, but yeah, when
Yeah.
I was reading it, it was pretty groggy, sloggy, whatever.
I
the
just
word is.
stopped because I was only like 2 issues in, and I was like, dude, this feels like a chore. Like, I know the story. I'll just put it down. All right, we get into the climax, which again, not great, but one of the things I liked about it is seeing them work together to build the machines that they're going to need. I thought that was a lot of fun. There was a really cool moment that Batman tells Iron Man that he swears this would have been a 4-day job, but Iron Man's tripled both the thrust and maneuverability in mere hours. So he's just, giving Tony Stark his due for what he can accomplish. And I thought that was a cool moment. And just seeing them all work together, and kind of like how they figured, like the first couple pages had them beating their villains in really cool, efficient ways that made sense. I thought it made sense how they were, kind of made sense why and what they were building. And that was just cool to see them go into like engineering mode and build something together. So that was cool, but the climax didn't, live up for me. I think the best parts of this book was the build up. The first act was so good that, I could say that I enjoyed the whole comic because of that first act. And then a few things here and there, even in the slow moments, there are some special nuggets, like, seeing their traumatic past and them building stuff together. But of course, at the end was super cool to see a few things like Superman. First of all, Cap giving him the shield. That was awesome. Superman saying that Captain America should be the one to call the tactics. He pretty much gave Captain America the leadership. Captain America gave him the shield. That was an awesome moment. And even the hammer. He picks up the hammer. He's worthy. And even the Vision blasting Superman with, frequencies that mimic our sun. So he powers Superman up. A lot of stuff involving Superman was really cool in this.
Mm-hmm. Superman with Captain America's shield, even though he really did.
And the hammer.
Yeah. It's like the shield, the hammer, it's like, obviously has the power of Thor, but the shield, it's like, why? But at the same time, it's just cool to see it was Captain America's shield.
Totally. But they all come together to defeat Krona. And that's the end of the story. Any other thoughts on the story? Anything at all, Zane?
I think it's funny how Hawkeye is the one to take him down at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. That is pretty cool.
Superman has Thor's hammer and Cap shield, and you think he's going to be the one to do it, and Hawkeye just shoots a fucking TNT arrow. And
Yeah, I love that. Give the arrow guy some credit, because arrows are lethal as hell from a long range, very stealthy and quiet. They deserve more due. I just read Green Arrow Year 1 for the first time, and that blew me away. It's really good. Super good comic.
Yeah, I've heard Green Arrow's, all of his comics are pretty good. I haven't read
Yeah.
any, but definitely.
Yeah,
like
his
it.
Rebirth was really solid. That was the first one I ever read of him. And then his New 52, it started with a certain creative team that wasn't doing it. Like Volume 1, 2, and 3 were lackluster, but then the same creative team that did some of the post-Secret Wars Old Man Logan, Jeff Lemire and Sorrentino. I don't know if did you read the Old Man Logan there after Secret Wars?
Just old man Logan.
It's not the Old Man Logan event. That story continues because he ends up in the 616, and it's like the coolest. It's one of the best Wolverine runs. It's savage, and the art and Jeff Lemire writing is solid. But definitely, highly recommend that one. It's super cool.
Check that out.
And what else?
So I guess one question I had for you guys, I wanted to see what your guys' thoughts. So at the end, when it's all over, Superman can't lift Mjolnir again, and then we find out that it was Odin that allowed. What do you guys think about that? You guys think Clark would be worthy to lift up Thor?
Hell yeah.
Mjolnir? I think so.
I think
That's
he
why
would.
I was
Yeah.
like, what the heck? But
If anybody from DC could, it's him.
yeah,
Right? He feels more
That's why-
worthy
that's
than
why I was
Thor.
like- yeah. That's why I was like, why wouldn't he just be able to pick it up? Why did Odin? But
Yeah.
whatever.
I actually missed that, to be honest. I didn't see that Odin allowed that. But that's sick, and I definitely agree. Superman would be the guy to if anybody, like I said, he might be more worthy than Thor, it seems like. I mean, he's kind of the best kind of person there is, I guess. I've thought, I used to be really not a Superman fan because he was boring to me, very plain and overpowered. But I have also been in deep to Superman stuff this past year, and I'm liking him more and more and more. Like the fact that he is such a boring but like perfect human being, right? He's not even.
Yeah.
It plays so well in these stories, especially contrasted with some of the darkness. And then seeing him raise a son was phenomenal. Yeah, he's just becoming a really cool
finished
character.
Rebirth, and like as a dad, like that was really cool. Obviously, too different, but I think it was still cool. Seeing Superman as a dad.
No,
That
he's
was
like,
cool.
it definitely influenced my outlook on life and just,
Yeah.
I don't know, trying to be just good in everything. But question for you then: did you read the Rebirth Superman Action Comics and the normal title Superman?
Not yet. I just read Rebirth Superman, and then I'm actually gonna be collecting. I heard that you probably should have read them one on one, but I didn't have Action Comics, so I just kind of just read just the normal.
Because I thought
Superman.
Action Comics was better than the Superman title. I like them both, but Action Comics was sick.
That's all. That's what I've heard is Rebirth Action Comics is better than the Superman title. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick the trades up for that too, though.
Yeah, and I also I'm going to buy volume 6 of Superman Rebirth soon. I haven't finished it. It's called Imperious Lex. He's had a good volume.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite ones.
Mine
dope.
is 5.
Is that the one with the veterans?
Yeah.
And Independence Day?
And Green
Volume
Lantern.
5.
There's a
Then-
Green Lantern crossover in that one, isn't there?
I don't remember.
I could be wrong. I know at some point the Rebirth crosses over with Green Lantern. It could be a different one, but...
That's another character I need to read is Green Lantern. I haven't read anything Green Lantern.
Oh, dude. He's not my favorite character, but he has, like, my favorite consistently good comics. The Jeff Johns. You've read all the Jeff Johns ones? Either of you?
No, I haven't read any Green Lantern.
Dude.
Same with the 90s. I'm trying to collect them all in singles before I read. I'm like
Bro.
about halfway there with the Jeff Johns.
Dude, just read the Jeff Johns. Skip it all. Go to Jeff Johns, because it all building to the Blackest Night and everything. It's so good. One of my favorites.
That's what I've been recommended to
Have you read Blackest Night?
read. No.
Oh, it's so good. And then his.
I think it was your review. You were saying how it's like Game of Thrones in space,
Yeah,
right?
Kind of, right? They literally all have to come to an alliance, kind of, to fight an undead army that's marching towards them after a bunch of seven? There's seven kingdoms and there's 7 colors, and they're all at war with each other. Some alliances and some backstabbing and switching. Literally galactic
Is this
Game of
Blackest
Thrones.
Night or Jeff Johns?
Which one?
The one that we're talking about right now.
Jeff Johns.
Okay.
But I got that Game of Thrones idea more in the Rebirth. Well, the Jeff Johns one too, but then Rebirth does more of the backstabbing and alliances kind of story that I found very interesting. Yeah, a lot of Green Lanterns is very galactic Game of Thrones.
Are you reading the current run?
No, because I just do trades. My next one will be, what is it, John Adams' Green Lantern run? Or who's the new guy?
Jeremy Adams.
Is it good?
It's really good. I think you're going to like it.
Let's go.
What they're building up, what they're building into is going to be cool. Like, you can already tell.
It's stayed consistently good and it's still going?
Yeah. 100%.
I can't wait.
Volume 1 volume, you're going to love it.
Damn it, I'm probably going to have to put another purchase on the credit card then, because Green Lantern's my shit. All right, any more thoughts on the story?
The art is probably the best art I've ever seen in a comic book, to be honest.
Okay.
It's like, that's one thing, is I also consider myself like a really slow reader, because I have to look at each panel and like I just appreciate that. If it's like just like a panel with face, I'll just look at it. Okay, that's Batman or that's Spider-Man or whoever, and then I move on. But if it's like a splash page, I like go down and like just appreciate the art a little bit. I just love the art in comic books. That's like one thing I used to, as a kid, I wouldn't even read the comic book. I would just flip through the pages and look at the art, and then eventually, obviously, I started reading. But I just love the art in comic books. That's really what got me into comic books in the first place. But
same. You know what's cool about comics is they like work your brain. Your neurons are firing at a different level when you're trying to depict images. And sometimes in these comic images, there is story to be found in there that if you just skim over it, you're not going to see certain details that do impact the story. And yeah, that's why
I'm going to reread it, just because like I said, I read it just so we could talk about it and stuff, and I kind of just sped through it because of work and stuff. But
for sure,
but I'm going to reread it for sure, and actually, hopefully, I can appreciate more of the actual story. But
hell yeah! And are you going to review on your TikTok some of that DC Marvel omnibus you ordered?
Oh yeah, I want to switch up my content too, but it's just work, and especially now with my new schedule and stuff that I got, it's going to be a bit tough. But I'm going to try, because like I used to be able to read a little bit at work, but now I can't, and so it's gonna be pretty hard to find time to read too, because then I come home and then I have my baby.
Yeah,
I obviously want to see and stuff, but
in those moments in life when you can't read a lot, I always find when you do get a chance to pick up a book, it hits harder, and it's
you guys should read
makes up for time.
You guys should see my to be read pile. Like I went like almost a month and a half without reading, because I just couldn't. Like I was still picking up books, but I just fell behind. I fell behind on a lot of stuff, but I'm slowly trying to catch up. Like I at least try to read like 4 issues a night. But
yeah, I got a big list too coming. I got Death Metal Omnibus. Never read it.
I want to read that too.
Grant Morrison's Animal Man, Hickman's Ultimate Marvel thing with like the I think it shows the origin of the maker, and then some other stuff like the Jeff Lemire Moon Knight, bunch of stuff.
That's probably going to be my next big reading order that I want to do is Hickman's Avengers, Fantastic Four, Secret Wars. Dude. I want to read all that, and I think my original goal was trying to find all the issues for the Avengers stuff, but man,
I think they have a collected edition now that's a lot bigger that collects them all.
Yeah, they got like I think they're on volume 4 of the complete collections or whatever. But I found a good deal on Mercari. I offered the guy for both omnibuses. Hopefully, I can get those, and then I just need, I believe, volume 2 of the Fantastic Four, because I've read a little bit of the omnibus of volume 1, and it's really good, but I haven't finished it.
Like Jeff Johns' Green Lantern, Hickman's Avengers and New Avengers, leading up to Secret Wars, is one of my absolute favorites. It is freaking good.
Yeah,
it might have to be my number 1 favorite. The drama between the characters is solid. Like the villains are solid. The way they build up to these epic events is solid. Time Runs Out, leading directly to Secret Wars, is like better than Secret Wars in my opinion. But I'm in the minority there.
A lot of the build-up to this big stuff is usually better than...
And Infinity. Infinity's right packed in the middle, and that's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's what I want to read too.
All right. Well, we should wrap it up. Jose and Zane, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, man.
Yeah,
Absolutely. We could do it again. Go check out their stuff for some comic reviews. Why So Sidious has some shirts out. We're going to figure out how to get the links available for you guys for an easy click, not the copy and paste kind of link. So we'll figure all that out. We're covering House of the Dragon. We're dropping a Rings of the Power episode to get us ready for season 2. Again, check out Cassandra Nova, the villain in Wolverine and Deadpool. Ugh. We got some Novice Nerd and some content on that coming out. So check it all out, and we'll see you next time.
Later.